Hi everyone, I'm Sonia Rifkin, I'm with NUHW, and in just a minute we're going to have a panel of some of the fierce labor leaders here in Santa Cruz from Janus, and we're going to be hearing some more about what they're fighting for. Janus of Santa Cruz folks organized and formed a union in 2017. An overwhelming majority formed the union. The union includes folks who are critical to care across the organization, from the people who do intake, to the people who are at the sobering center, to the counselors who provide, and treatment techs who provide the day-to-day hands-on treatment. And you saw that stat up there that the turnover rate when they started forming the union was 40%. And despite this is a group of labor leaders who've managed, just as of last couple weeks ago, to get 80% of their coworkers to sign a petition in solidarity for a better contract. So let's hear it for that. And last night they delivered that petition to the board, and we'll hear a little bit more about that. So, you know, I think that most people in this room are familiar with Janus of Santa Cruz. Substance use has touched most of us, either personally, in our families, in our communities, in one way or another. And here in Santa Cruz County, as many of you know, Janus is the largest and most comprehensive treatment provider. They essentially do the work of the county. They provide treatment including medication-assisted treatment, residential treatment, a perinatal program that fills a critical gap in services. Without Janus, the county wouldn't be able to provide the services that they're able to do. And Janus is funded primarily by the county and has been the focal point of millions of dollars of investment over the last couple of years, both at the federal level and at the state level, to be the hub for treatment along the Central Coast. So in spite of the fact that the county is so heavily reliant on Janus, that the federal government and the state government, in their efforts to expand treatment and expand treatment specifically for Medi-Cal patients, are looking to Janus. These are the working conditions that folks are facing, the folks who the public is leaning on so heavily. And so we'll be hearing some more about what that contract fight is looking like right now. Folks have been fighting for a contract for nearly a year, and management just gave us, the management at Janus, their what they were calling their last, best, and final offer, which unfortunately wasn't much different from the initial offers. It included about a 1% raise. Folks, you're hearing about, so the county has what they think is a living wage, which now is $16.85. Most of us know that's still not quite enough to live on. But okay, that's the bar the county sets, and I think about 75% or so of the folks at Janus who are the treatment techs, the intake folks, are making less than that. Whereas if you start as a mental health counselor and you work for the city, you start at like $31. So there's, you know, an ongoing parity issue that's pervasive when we look at counties across California and across the country, and it's really hard hitting at Janus. So in this last, best, and final offer, they were offered 1% raises, and also a grievance procedure, a way to deal with discipline that would allow the management to be the final decision maker in disciplinary issues, which is unheard of in a union contract. So this is obviously not acceptable. So we'll hear some more about that as well. So with that, I want to invite up the panelists. We can take our seats, and we'll get started. Very nice, celebrity of the day.
Oh, stop it.
Let's just give a hand for these folks who are standing up right here, sharing their stories, being courageous. Get to know you a little bit. If everyone could just go down the line from Matt on down and tell us your name, tell us what you do at Janus, how long you've been there, and a sentence or two about why you do the work that you do.
My name is Matthew Van Nuys. I'm an IoT counselor, intensive outpatient treatment, and a DUI educator, so I give DUI education. I've been working there for coming up on about 4 years, and I do the work for the reasons I stated in the films there, right? I mean, it's from the life that I come from, and so I'm going to give back.
Good evening, my name is Edgar Fuerte. I'm an intake referral specialist at the Janus Center, right in the front parking lot of the county jail. So that's our newest Janus department. I've been there 4 years. This 25th of May, it'll be 4 years there. I'm one of the original, I guess, stirring things up union guy. Me and 2 other guys started back in January 2017. We saw a lot of things going on wrong at Janus, our different departments, so we got together and started speaking to other people, and those 2 people left within the first month or 2, and I stuck around and was able to get a lot of other people involved.
I am the receptionist at Janus, Maine. I've been there coming up on a year, this in the beginning of May. The reason I work at Janus is because it's a lot of my friends, people I went to school with, people I used to hang out with, are addicts, and when they come into Janus and see me, I feel like it makes them a little easier, knowing that they have somebody there that they know to support them.
Hi, my name is Sadie Smith. I'm a treatment tech. I've been working at Janus since 2017, but I took a little bit of a break in 2018 and I came back in February of this year. I was working at Maine as a treatment tech and at perinatal. The reason that I do this work is addiction has touched my family and friends. I've seen a cycle of addiction destroy lives, and I want to give back. I want to heal our community as well. Mental health is near and dear to my heart. That is also something that I want to see improve the services to our community. So, what's the other question? Okay.
Hi, my name is Jamie Arterberry. I'm currently an administrative counselor in the Janus Maine department. I deal with all the intakes to all of our different programs that we have. I started off at the Sobering Center with Edgar, and he helped pull me in and has done a lot of work with me, and he's a big supporter. I am in this field because I too am an addict and an alcoholic. I destroyed many lives. You know, when finally I had a counselor that worked with me in San Jose, where I got sober. It rebuilt my family, and now my 3 children speak to me, and I have healthy relationships because somebody took the time, and I was willing to trust somebody. And that's why I'm in this field. You know, I want to help people develop trust, to work through what they're dealing with in their own addictions and mental health. That's why I do what I do.
Thank you all. So to start with, let's just set the stage, starting with Matt and Edgar, who were involved in the original organizing campaign. Can you talk a little bit about what the critical issues were that led you and your coworkers at the time to form a union?
Yeah, well, it was in around February of 2017, and I got a call from one of my coworkers at the Janus Maine, where all these coworkers work at, Janus Maine on 7th Avenue, and he called me, and he said, "Hey Edgar, this is so-and-so. I just thought I'd reach out to you because another guy and me are thinking of forming a union, and I just thought I can openly reach out to you because you're trustworthy." And I said, "Well, I've been thinking about that too. I just didn't know who to reach out to." And that's where it began. We got with each other, we met up with each other, and we started talking about issues we had at each department. We all went back and started reaching out to our coworkers individually. I went to each coworker individually to get, I don't want it to be some biased decision and, everybody's just going to jump on board because I said this. I wanted to see where everybody's thoughts and minds were at. And everybody individually was thinking that a lot of things were going on wrong at Janus. Those two coworkers came back with the same responses. One of them reached out to NUHW. That person that first helped us start from NUHW, he's no longer with us, but now we have Sonia, Nick, Justin, and a few others. Anyhow, it just rolled on from there. We got a petition of how many people wanted a union. Then after that, and it went public, we then voted. And I remember that time when we voted, it was 2 people voted no from Janus employees against a union. So 2 people did not want a union at Janus. The rest of us wanted a union. The rest of us thought there was something wrong going on. And I'm talking about Janus department over in Watsonville, the Emmeline Clinic, perinatal on Chestnut Street, 7th Avenue, and the one on Water Street. 5 different departments. So it's not like just one department, something was going on wrong. It was happening at every other department of Janus in Santa Cruz County. Sometime after that, the councils jumped on board.
Yeah, they were real good at keeping it under wraps. We had no idea for a while, but that was good because it allowed the movement to build up some steam. And then once we heard about it, we were on board. Some of the systemic issues that are going on at Janus have some real negative outcomes for clients. So, for instance, our wages, so many people get started out at $12 an hour, which is ridiculous for the kind of work that we do. Healthcare, our insurance it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I had some health concerns a few months ago, towards the end of last year, so my doctor referred me to have a simple sonogram done and some blood work. And that came out to $1,400 that I was responsible for. I had to pay that off over 5 months, right? Because we had a $7,000 deductible. Okay. What is it? Oh, $7,500. Thank you. That's right. $7,500 deductible. And meanwhile, we were putting ourselves on the line because we want to. They prey on that fact. They take advantage of the fact that we want to do this work and pay us peanuts for doing that, right? And when it comes to mental health, look, we have high pressure jobs here. There's no way around that. I have dealt with clients, last 4th of July, I had a client come in. I was the only person working there as the IoT counselor, right? There were people at RTC, but I was the only person doing the IoT stuff. And I had a client come in suicidal, super drunk, super suicidal, right? Actually, he didn't come in, he called. I had to be on the phone with this guy. I've had no training to deal with that, okay? I'm on a wing of prayer trying to do that because Janus won't provide the training for me that I need in order to do that, okay? By the grace of God, I managed to talk this guy through it and make sure to do a handoff with healthcare professionals who took him to Dominican, and luckily that panned out well. I almost broke down after that though. That was a really terrifying experience for me. And to have them make me pay $1,400 for a sonogram when I'm putting myself through the ringer to do that kind of work it's not justifiable for my mind. I love Janus though, don't get me wrong. I love Janus because I went to Janus. 10 years ago, it was one of the first places I went to try to get clean and sober. So I have loyalty to Janus. I want to give back to clients who come through there, but in order to do that, I need to have my hierarchy of needs met. I'm homeless right now with a baby, my first baby with my partner, and my 6-month-old little boy who's sitting back in the corner there. He's the most beautiful little boy you'll ever see, by the way. And I can't pay my rent. We got evicted from our last place when they found out we were pregnant. And, so those are the kinds of situations we're facing. And in the face of those kinds of pressures and the kind of demands that our jobs make on us, we need some protection if Janus isn't willing to step up and do what's right for us.
a turning point issue was, or a moment that made you want to stand up and join the union and get active?
I can speak to one in particular. I remember one particular day I was working at Maine, and I was asked by my supervisor to field the detox med room. There was only one med room at that time. As well, I was asked to facilitate an art therapy program at the same time. So we're not only doing med protocols for detox clients, also they wanted an art class, facilitated by me, which all clients sign in on, and they get paid for that, right? Janus gets payment for that. And as well, I had to field treatment of other clients and kind of look after clients that were going outside in the smoking area. So that was me doing 3 jobs at one time. That was just ridiculous. I had my CEO come in, my supervisor come in and see me doing this and say, "You're doing such a great job, Sadie." And I'm working like $12 an hour, and
But that's all they give us is
making
that.
$12 an hour, and I'm probably going to be asked to do a double shift because the next shift isn't showing up, which is something that happened often. And at that point, I did reach out to a coworker who I knew was pushing the petition before we became unionized, and I was like, I'm on this. Where do I sign? Because that was ridiculous. That was an unsafe work environment. It was unsafe for the clients. It's unsafe for the staff. It's just ridiculous. And if licensing had walked in there and seen that, I don't know, maybe Janus wouldn't be in business any longer. I don't. So that is why it's really for the safety of our staff and for the clients. That's initially why I signed.
And I can tell you how I became involved in the union. I came to Janus as an intern from San Jose City College. They have a pretty extensive drug and alcohol program. So I needed to fulfill my internship and was offered a job at the sobering center where Edgar is. And I was told, even better, we'll pay you for the position because normally interns don't get paid. And I'm like, wow, that's great. Well, I came with a contract that was clearly laid out from my professor on needing supervision from someone who was qualified, a qualified KDAP, which is someone who has a license to counsel with drug and alcohol clients. I was promised that I would have the supervision I needed, but was I open to working at this jail diversion program? For those of you that don't know what the sobering center is, it's a jail diversion program. So instead of always taking local inebriates to jail, we have a place for them to sober up and try to offer them some help. I love the program. I'm absolutely in support of it. I think it's fantastic. But I will tell you, upon getting there, thinking I was so lucky that I got some money and I didn't have to, work my other full-time job and I'm gonna get paid to be an intern. This is great. I go in there and the working conditions were scary. We had people coming in handcuffs, could be under the influence of anything. There's only 2 people on shift and we could take up to 10 clients. There's a men's side and a women's side. Our office where we do all of the intakes is probably maybe 9 by 9. It has 2 desks, a computer, and where I'm sitting right now, here's the bathroom door, right? For all the clients to use. Mind you, they're coming in covered in feces, covered in vomit, possible parasites living on them because they're outdoors, they're the ones that have been left alone with mental illness and substance use disorder. So in this, we never had any crisis training or de-escalation training, which was important because we've had clients completely lose it, and then our own safety was threatened because they're ill. And even though the jail is right behind us, they would never get there fast enough. We've had clients break out windows, throw things at us, no security at all, and 2 people. This means we're supposed to get our breaks, our lunches, we're supposed to be able to go to the bathroom in the same spot where our clients go to the bathroom. where they're trying to bathe and clean, whatever they're going to do. So with this being said, I went to my supervisor and I said, will we ever have de-escalation training? Will we ever have security? And no. And I said, well, can I have pepper spray? What happens if I have a client attack another client? Because that's happened before too. Just try to call the police and leave the building. Okay, but what if he's on top of a client, he's hurting them? How do I intervene if the police aren't coming? You don't. So I said, well, can I have pepper spray to kind of stop somebody? And so he spoke to the police department, said yes. The pepper spray came in the drawer. I let all my other coworkers know. I put it in the staff log. It was approved by my direct manager. We had an incident where I wasn't on shift and the graveyard staff had a client that they had to ask to leave the building because he was becoming violent. When they got the door shut and he got out, he busted open the window to get back at them. They dispensed pepper spray. Mind you, none of us had had formal training for this. And we were all reprimanded. When I consulted with our project manager, he told me I should have never had pepper spray there, but my direct supervisor approved it. So my response to him is, what are you going to do to keep us safe? I'm a single mom. I fought for my life. I'm here to help clients. I have a daughter that's home that depends on me. What are you going to do to ensure our safety and the safety for other clients in that case? And he couldn't tell me anything. Later on that night, I said, if you can't do anything to ensure my safety, I don't know how I can stay here. He asked me to resign that night. And that's where I talked to Edgar, and that's when I spoke to Justin, and they helped me use the wording that I needed to stand up for myself. I got my professor involved in it. I'm a counselor, so I deal in solution, and I know that change works, and so I hung on for this opportunity to be with coworkers and make a change. And that's what got me involved in the union. That was the incident. Since then, they have left me alone. I documented everything just like the union told me to do and just like my professor told me to do. And they backed off. And I'm still advancing, but that was sad. And to this day, there's been no de-escalation training in that sobering center. And that sobering center is crucial. It's saving money for the county across the board. It's saving money for Dominican. It's saving money for our police officers. And it's getting referrals to clients who really, really need it. And that's why I'm here.
Okay, so the reason I joined the union was I was at work, haven't been there that long, maybe like 3 or 4 months. Matt and Jason and Edgar were always like, hey, you should join the union. And I'm like, not understanding what it really is. Like, I really wasn't quite sure. But then I felt at work I was getting bullied by the CFO. And so Matt and you guys, actually, they all hit up Justin and they're like, hey, Sarah's over here having an issue. And then I was like, okay, me and Justin talked, and I was like, I felt the power in Justin and the guys over here, how strong they were about it, and I was like, I'm gonna give this a try. And I tried, and I've been with them ever since, and I have no regrets with it. They're so helpful and always willing to help you out and have your back on the worst moments at work. It's really wonderful to have them.
And I was gonna say, she's downplaying, she's being bullied. She's being bullied by the CFO there, absolutely, hands down.
That CFO is no longer working at Janus.
I'm sorry, not the CFO, I'm sorry, the CFO, but then also our COO as well, so she's being bullied. I know, right? So many others.
Thank you all. I want to touch on something that you brought up, Matt, in the video when you were testifying in front of the Board of Supervisors about how consistent care is critical to people's recovery. And a couple of you have touched already on the way that the turnover and has creates obstacles to people in their treatment. I was wondering if maybe two folks could just share a couple more examples of the way that the turnover at Janus affects the ability of clients to succeed. Doesn't have to be everyone, just, if a couple folks would like to elaborate on that a little.
So I'll elaborate a little bit. First off, the name of the game in treatment is therapeutic alliance. Trust with the counselor, trust with the staff, trust with the techs. That is the number one most important thing. That trust has to be there. You don't establish that trust in the blink of an eye. And so I've had clients that have come through multiple times. They came back to my group specifically because of their relationship with me, right? I've had clients do that and they're still coming back. I've had clients do that and then at some point something clicked and they got it. And now they come and they visit me and they're doing well, But that is only possible if you have that therapeutic alliance, which takes time to build, and outcomes statistically are tied to that all through the literature.
Yeah, same thing with me right here at the sobering center is I get a lot of people that constantly are coming in and out, right? Santa Cruz locals, alcoholics, drug addicts, and over the 4 years, the ones that continue to come back, they've been seeing me there, right? Some of them, a few, but some of them have gotten into recovery, have gotten sober. I'll explain to the ladies up front here. I remember my first successful story was, I think within my first year working there, this man, he was homeless, and he probably we had 2 charts full of just every time he came in. And at one time, we were able to, this is a guy that would urinate himself every time he came in, just dirty, just smelled pretty awful. I remember walking him downtown to get him on the Metro bus, got him to a program out of town. 6-8 months later, came back to say thank you, was clean, looked like just anybody in here, you would have never known he was a homeless person if you would have met him from that day on. A year later, I ran into him on Pacific Avenue in front of a business there, and he had a nice clean backpack, brand new shoes. I asked him if he still lived out of town. He said, no, I moved back to Santa Cruz, got my own apartment, I'm still working. And there's other people that have came in, there's people that have gone into recovery within the last year that I know are doing well. And then there's people that come back that say, hey, what happened to so-and-so that used to work here? I used to have a good relationship or rapport going on with them. I said, oh, they left another job to get paid more. Or they just quit, they up and left. And for many different reasons, right? I'm there, and I can look for another job too. I do have another job that helps me out that I've had for about 11 years. So I keep that job and this one because I can't just live off this job. No way. I would not make it here in Santa Cruz. Something I did miss on earlier is what got me to this was before we had union. A lot of the managers were just writing people up for anything. Like I came back from a vacation from Mexico, and I came back to find out they gave 2 of my weekday morning shifts to a new person and moved me off those days and put me on 2 days that I used to have off and put me on evening shifts. But then I was told by that new manager, oh, we considered you, but you were on vacation, so we just had to make do with whoever was here. And I did ask everybody what their ideal schedule would be, but you weren't around. So I advocated for myself, advocated to that immediate supervisor, to her supervisor, which is one of the people that have been, a lot of incidents have been going on with them, that same supervisor above the other supervisors. And he told me that's just how it's going to stay, go to talk to HR. HR is another crack in this. HR has never, ever, I've noticed in 4 years, back an actual employee up against management. They always side with management. So maybe within a month or less after that, I was written up 3 times, back to back to back. And just the small things, even when I expected to be written up for that, there was no, they didn't hear me out. They just said, well, that's just how it is, and we're going to have to do that. Anything else, you're going to be terminated. So I was careful, walking on eggshells for about a year, never got in trouble again, just did everything. Just, I was a religious Christian. And no offense to anyone, but yeah, that's when I saw how bad it was. And right around then is when me and those people started talking about forming a union, so problems like that.
I would like to speak a little bit on the turnover. One thing I've noticed since I've been there too is when they start these programs, or like the Sobering Center, for example, there was no infrastructure sent up to support the employees, to educate them so that they could better serve clients, and I continually see that happen over and over again. Whenever we get a new employee, it's like sink or swim, and everybody's so busy, you feel like you can't reach out, and so a lot of bad habits are learned, and a lot of not best practice. That's what I see happening with that turnover too. We can't build that trust. When the employees were hiring, on your first day, they're just like, go, deal with the clients. You've been given no structure, you've been given no schedules, you've been given no check-ins, and it's like, just do it. You have a problem, call, and then when you do try to call or knock on the door, somebody is not there to answer, because everybody is overwhelmed, including our direct supervisors are struggling. So that continually hurts it. Constant turnover like that without training your staff. I also waitress part-time because I can't afford not to. I wouldn't be able to eat or pay my bills if I didn't do that. I make, and this is no exaggeration, I make $20,000 more a year waitressing full-time than I do working in the healthcare fields. That's my commitment to this, but they need to train their staff. I got better training in a restaurant than I did working with humans with mental health, and that is unacceptable.
I want to come back around to what Edgar was just touching on. The strength and commitment of you and your coworkers has recently been met with an increasing pattern of discipline and even termination of leaders that the union believes to be retaliatory. And I was wondering if Sadie and Edgar, if you could talk about the experience of retaliation and how you're standing up for your rights to organize and hold Janus accountable.
All right, so I returned to Janus in February and was contacted by a former coworker at Perinatal to get in touch with our union organizer, Justin. I jumped on that. Since I had joined the union initially in 2017, I didn't think that would be a problem. As far as I felt that I was liked well enough by the management that I wouldn't have any retaliatory things happen to me. So I talked to Justin, I got my lanyard, I got the petition, I moved that petition through Perinatal and through Maine, and I also recruited perhaps more leaders within the union to recruit and get more petition signs. We actually got 80%, which we've already discussed that. So I was pretty excited about the progress. Then I was called into a disciplinary meeting this last week, and it came at me sideways. I was on shift on Tuesday afternoon at Perinatal and called into my supervisor's office, and the compliance officer and the woman who works directly under our CEO, Amber Williams, did a questioning of me. It was almost like an interrogation. And all of the questions she had of me about my job performance really were baseless or groundless and not terms for firing. So I was like, one of those was giving a client a hug. She questioned me about that. Why did you touch the client? And this was a client I'd been working with for 2 months at Perry, and she had already completed the program at residential treatment and was doing celebrating families. I greeted the client and said, "Hi, how are you doing? And can I give you a hug?" I asked her the question. I gave her a hug, and Amber Williams saw me do that and then questioned me in that meeting Tuesday about it. And I said, "I didn't know. Is this a problem that we can't give clients hugs?" And she said, "Oh well, clients give me hugs all the time." So I just was really confused by that line of questioning. any rate, that meeting went on for about an hour. I did say to her, I do feel picked on. I do feel this is unfair. I did not pull my Weingarten rights, which I probably should have done, probably because I was intimidated. I left that meeting a little bit, concerned about my standing with Janus, and am I going to get fired? That question in my mind. Am I going to get written up? But there was no formal write-up. Flash forward to Thursday morning, and I worked through that, up until Thursday morning. I did it like 12 days, and then at Thursday, and I'm getting a text message from my supervisor, Melinda, can you come into Maine and write, like, this morning? And I'm like, no, I've got a meeting, and the meeting was with Nick. I didn't tell her I was meeting a union rep. So I'm walking to that meeting on River Street from my house, to River Cafe, and I'm texting Melinda, like, I can't meet you, I've got a meeting, and that goes till 3 o'clock. And she says, well, you've got to come in at 3:15 then. And I refrained from responding to that text and met with Nick and discussed that with him, what was that communication that was going on, and was able to feel that in a manner that was appropriate for, like, I would asked her if there was a disciplinary action that would result in my possible termination, and she, after 45 minutes, replied no. And then I got a phone call from her, but on the other line was not Melinda, my supervisor. It was Amber, who's the program director and the compliance officer and the direct assistant to our CEO. So she wears 3 hats at least. And she said, your probationary period is over. And I said, oh, good. Not knowing that meant termination. And she said, no, you've been terminated. You're no longer an employee of Janus.
Wow.
And I was pretty much, my breath was, I couldn't, like, I was like, what? I didn't even know what to say. She said, well, you can come pick up your check right now. I said, well, I'm not coming in. I've worked 12 days straight, and I just did an all-nighter, and I'll come in tomorrow. Anyways, so I'm no longer an employee of Janus, but this is my mission to work with clients with substance use disorder and to get our healthcare system in Santa Cruz County so that we have parity in mental health care, so that substance use disorder clients who have dual diagnosis are also getting mental health treatment. And as she spoke to people or staff at Janus not being trained to feel a lot of these needs that clients have, these needs can be suicidal ideation, and I'm actually trained in that, in how to feel those things. I have a background in mental health. I worked 5 years in mental health before coming to Janus. But it would be great to see Janus employees trained in that, because my mission is to serve our community and to see improvement in those services to our entire community. Anyway,
Thank you for your courage and for staying in this fight. And I hope I can speak for all of us that we have your back here in this room, and the union has your back. So, Edgar, if you were disciplined around using a profanity at work, I would like you to, maybe we can give the bullet point of the story, but if you could just talk a little bit about the way that you were able to stand up for your rights in the aftermath of that, and then we'll go on to one of our last questions, and then we'll be able to have some questions from the audience.
Yes, I will do my best in attempting to briefly summarize you on that, because I don't want to sugarcoat and omit anything. We're like, oh, well, you probably did do something bad.
Everybody wants to know.
No, literally, I said the word shit. And so I was at my storage center over here. It's a brand new desk. I walked in shift, and I said, "What's this shit?" There was a huge, just sore thumb sticking out, and we had that small room that Jamie was telling you about to work with. I mean, straight out of the cop car in handcuffs, unruly patients / arrestees, right? They're not coming, oh, I want to get sober. They're coming because they got picked up for either DUIs or drug possession or under the influence. So they're not volunteers like Janus, Maine. I want to get sober. They're arrested, and I thought, how is we going to work around this big dance? So that was my comment. There was an IT manager working on the computer, and Anyhow, so that happened. He, for nothing related, was stressing on the computer. Later on, got up and said, yelled it, I don't give a shit anymore. And he looked at me, looked at my immediate manager, 2 other coworkers, and he walked out of the room and said, I'm trying to work on wireless internet for your personal devices, right? So there's a point here, bear with me. He walked out, came back in, it was all quiet, and then minutes went by and he said, I'm sorry guys, I should have never said that, I should have never said that, I'm just stressing. 4 days later, my manager shows up, walks upstairs, comes back with my manager, closes the door. This is the same guy that years before was writing me up when I was advocating for my work schedule when I came back from vacation. He says, Edgar, I gotta talk to you. And I know my wine garden rides, like I'm on it, right? I've been to union conferences, I'm educated on everything that is illegal or legal going on in the workplace now. But the employers, they don't know that. They're not educated, they're just a manager. They don't know all these federal laws and union laws and worksite unlawful violations or whatnot. He said, I gotta talk to you. And as soon as he said those words, I said, is this in any way? And he just cut me off and said, you don't need a union rep for this. You don't need no union representation. And I smiled, but I finished and said, is this in any way going to lead to possible future disciplinary action or even means of termination? He said, no, you don't need union representation. And I said, well then, I'd like to hear what you have to say. And he started reading this paper he had, and I stopped him again and said, I request my union representation, you are now violating my wine garden rights. He said, no, I'm not. I said, you are, but you don't know that. You're uneducated on that. And I'm educated. And my manager her jaw dropped, because I was talking to her manager, which is everybody's manager, she's the director of managers or something. And so I listened to him, and he said, so I just need you to sign this. And I said, I'm not signing anything. He asked me, you're not going to sign it? I said, no, I'm not. I'm not going to sign anything, but who told you this? And I looked at my manager, did Aaron tell you, or did Jesse tell you, the IT manager? He said, no, it was Jesse. And I smiled and said, I'm surprised, because did he tell you what he did and what he said? No. And I looked at Aaron, because she was there when he said that. And then I went on to explain to him what happened, and I said, Aaron? She said, well, I remember him being upset, but I don't know if he said that. There's a manager covering for another manager, and I just thought, wow, ridiculous. And he said he was going to talk to the manager's manager, the IT manager's manager, which never happened. Anyhow, I called him out and reminded him that when we first opened up the celery center, first I asked him, do you believe that everyone, including managers, should be held responsible for their behavior and their unprofessionalism at the workplace? He responded, yes, everyone. And I said, good, and I'm going to call you out right now. And he looked surprised, and I said, back in 2015, when we didn't have that many patients coming in because it was a new department, the police weren't really involved, they didn't really think that was going to work, so they just take people to jail. I said, you mentioned to my first manager, Gabriel Miller, and I said, I was sitting in this very same seat, and you walked by with him, and my other coworker, Linda, my medical, and she's still working there from day one with me. You walked by, and you looked at the data that we had collected from the courthouses, because we used to walk across the street in the mornings and collect data from the DUI cases. And then we turned it into our manager, he would turn it into his manager, this guy. And I said, you walked right by, and this is exactly what you said. As you read the paper, you said, how in the fuck is this shit supposed to help me? But I wasn't this calm, and my tone of voice was pretty high when I was telling him this in the office as he's trying to have me sign a write-up. And I said, did you tell your CEO? Did you tell your directors? You didn't, did you? You better hold yourself in integrity and write yourself up before you come write me up.
I'm going to pause you for a second. Can we fast forward just to Yeah, court.
So he's now in court, fighting in federal court in Oakland. I went to it, and it's not for me. The court's for him. He's fighting this because
We should say this isn't court. This isn't the federal court. This is so we filed a claim, right, with the labor board about unfair. Was it a ULP, an unfair labor practice claim?
Okay, there we go.
And then you were able to make your case in front of the judge. Can you briefly tell us what happened there? How do you feel about what the outcome?
I feel like we're gonna win because that manager owned up to not writing up the other manager that cursed, and the other manager, the IT manager, showed up too. He owned up. I thought they were gonna lie and try to just omit. And nope, they said everything the way it happened, and I was surprised. But that's a win. But we have to wait for this procedure to happen, and then he even admitted that he might have said something similar years ago when I called him out on it, and he owned up to not investigating the IT manager at all. What was that?
The emails.
Oh, yeah, the emails.
Oh, there was emails and him with my manager about me bringing issues up there. And, it was a big conversation when he was telling me to just leave my pessimism was not good around, and the work side, that my staff were comfortable with their jobs, and he said, if you don't like working here, you don't have to work here. There's other options. And I called him out. Are you intimidating me? You trying to get me to quit? Because I'm not going to be that guy. I have a backbone, and I'm going to stay here. You've done that to other people, and I've seen you do it, and it works. They quit. But I'm not that guy. I'm not going to leave. You better get used to me here. And he just smiled, and he said, that's what I want to hear. I probably came in about this the wrong way. Anyhow, yeah. I'm glad everybody's with me, though.
And because you were able to, through the union, file an unfair labor practice charge, there was recourse for that unfair discipline. And like you said, where you knew your Weingarten rights and management, wasn't upholding them, whether they knew them or not, you had the information and you had the legal backing and the support of your coworkers to do something about it, which is wonderful.
So the remedy is, when it goes through, is they're going to have to take away that reprimand or verbal counseling, as he called it, and they have to post up at the Janus departments that they violated, illegally, violated an employee's rights. And we don't want that, but that's where it's going. Like, that's not what we want. Like Matt stated, we, the staff, provide phenomenal care to the patients, but management doesn't take care of us. They don't provide that phenomenal care for their employees, and that's where it's lacking. Janus is awesome for patients. It is, because that work is done for the patients by us, the frontline workers. But the employer is not taking care of us, and we don't want to let that happen someday in the future. I'm not going to be staying at Janus forever, but I don't want to quit right now until something changes for the future employees, the future patients. Like, I'm waiting to go into radiology program. I was speaking with you ladies up front and hopefully get into the MRI field, but right now, this is my purpose, is to stick it out at Janus and see what can change for those future employees and future patients.
Thank you, Edgar. This is our last question before we go to a Q&A, and for our panelists, this is kind of a combination of the last two questions, in case you're thinking about your answers. So I just want to zoom out a bit and talk about what's at stake for the larger Santa Cruz community in your fight, and also what's at stake for the industry, for the healthcare industry and the substance use treatment world that you're all unionizing. And we saw in these videos that you're part of growing ranks of behavioral health workers, mental health care workers, substance treatment workers who are deciding to join a union, who are taking a stand for livable wages that reflect the critical care that you provide and to stand up for patients. And substance use treatment facilities have notoriously high turnover rates, are poorly regulated, are often besieged by profiteering. This is something we see across the board at the expense of clients and patients, as well as workers, as we're hearing. And behavioral health workers have joined NUHW from Kaiser, which is as big as it gets, to local nonprofits like Janus and others. So to those who are maybe, more used to hearing about nurses or carpenters unionizing, can you talk a little bit about why it's important to the broader community, to the issues that everyone in this room cares about, to patients, to clients, that substance use and mental health workers unionize? And if everyone would just take maybe 2 minutes to chime in on this, and then we'll take questions from the audience.
I'll go first. Here's something that we all see every day when we drive by it, Tent City. Most of our clients come from there. We are so understaffed, right, in admissions, and I'm the one that pulls them in now, that sometimes I leave with 30 voicemails. Sometimes I have other county agencies trying to coordinate continuity of care, right from a Dominican detox into residential. We work with many different agencies, and because I'm so buried in paperwork, I don't get a lot of those calls, That's a horrible feeling for me to live with. So that keeps our tent city full. It keeps the people out that need help. So it really impacts the community when we're not trained or staffed well enough to support these clients coming in. And we are the only detox facility in Santa Cruz County that accepts Medi-Cal. That's 16 beds. 16 detox beds. We have a wait list. So when a client is ready, like that young girl that lost her life, but we're not getting mental health, when a client is ready and they come in and they are begging for their life and they want a change, I apologize and I let them know I'll put you on the list. And I have to do that every single day. Every day I have to do that. That's impacting the community. That's another person that opened up some trust and bureaucracy running one again. And so they go back out and they keep using, and they steal from local homes, restaurants. There's so much going on out there. I know we all see it. That's what it looks like.
Thank you, Jamie.
Jamie just basically said everything I was going to say, so I'm not going to repeat what she said. It is my concern. What we have is the homeless population not being served. They're underserved, and we just don't have the staffing to do it, and the management isn't supporting the staffing as well to do that. And the high turnover rate, high turnover rate contributes to staff coming in who are untrained to facilitate these needs. I can speak to 2 clients in the past 3 weeks that I had to field suicidal ideation with, and I don't have any other staff that are trained in that. And I talked to my management about it, and they were reluctant to train, to have my fellow staff go and get that training. In fact, I talked to counselors at Maine, and one of the counselors said, oh, well, the clinical director told me not to take the suicidal prevention class. So I'm not sure what that's about, but we need services for our clients. They are underserved, and mental health and substance use disorders, most of our clients have both. Both of those needs need to be addressed.
Thank you, Sadie.
I want to touch up on what Jamie said about the list. I have to write clients letters after they come in for assessment that are on Medi-Cal stating that, I'm sorry, you're not going to be taken into our program within 10 days. It is extremely sad to see the looks on clients' face, having parents call me in desperate needs. I pretty much get all the calls from the start, and I feel that sometimes it gets to me that I'm sorry that I can't help people who need help, and it's really sad that we can't have more people work for us so we can get more people in. And Jamie works full-time. She's our only full-time counselor, and we just got another one, and we have another part-time one, but if you think about it, you're only taking in 2 or 3 people a day, and what is that going to help? It's not gonna help anything. Maybe 25% of our community. We need more.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, in my case, I'll just shortly touch on it because I work at the Silvering Center, although the bigger picture is getting them into treatment. But for the purpose that place was really made was just to help out the jail and the police officers that I'm not making anything near what they're making, but I'm the one jailing them. You know, I'm the guy, me and medical, I'm the one jailing them, but the way that it can affect the rest of you in society is a lot of times I believe police officers aren't going to pick those people up because it's something minor, just drunk or under the influence, and that's why they have our center, to not have to go to the jail. They want the jail for like bigger crimes, you know, more of criminal-based incidents, criminal activity. So it would affect by just leaving all that under the influence population outside, or going to the jail and probably raising taxes to pay for these officers, to have to house these inmates. So it's like a ripple effect in a lot of different ways with our different departments and how it can affect society as a whole, not just, you know, us at work. Because if we leave that place and we find better jobs and the turnover rate keeps happening, nobody's gonna want to stay at that Silvering Center. I mean, there's only me and two others that have been there from day one. We started with, I think, 14 employees, and there's 3 of us that have stayed since day one. The rest, they come and go. They come and go. They come and go. Nobody stays. But I mean, Jamie and Matt, they both were at the Silvering Center. They went over to Janus, Maine, but that's not a high number. So that Silvering Center can go away if nobody's going to get, you know, the proper benefits or pay raises, right? 1%. That's the CEO's giving us the middle finger by giving us an offer of 1%, 15 cents, 10 cents. You might as well tell us that word, right?
Thanks, Edgar.
So everything that everybody's touched on in terms of the effects on the community, that's higher taxes, that's more crime, that's more violent crime, that's more death, that's more accidental overdoses, that's more suicides, that's more all of that, more theft, and that's all absolutely true. Everybody's already stated that. But another issue here, which is really important to me, is the effects on the staff. Jamie down there is the workhorse of Janus, straight up. When it comes to admissions, she is doing the work of 5 people. And it is constantly a weight and a burden on her, okay? Now, add to that, we all have our own personal stuff in life, right? We have our own human stuff going on in our lives, which makes it doubly worse. Add to that, the type of work that we're doing, that adds on. Add to that the dysfunctional of a corporate system which pushes down on you to the point of helplessness while you're trying to empower other people. And you have a series of stresses that can be potentially deadly. There was a gentleman I used to work with when I first started at Janus for the first year named James Bonney. And he was a DUI counselor. And he also worked at the Silvering Center. Edgar knew him as well. And he also struggled with depression. He also struggled with depression and some mental health issues as well. And he was not getting support from Janus. He was being overworked, overloaded, a great deal of pressure put on him. He reached out to management when he started feeling hopeless. That was not a responsive situation where he got any support. And he ended up committing suicide. He ended up jumping off of the end of Westcliff. He parked his car, folded his clothes neatly, walked down the block naked, and jumped into the ocean and killed himself. And I keep a picture of him by my front door to remind me to practice self-care, because apparently nobody else is going to take care of us. So that's the other reason, the other kinds of outcomes that I'm worried about.
Well, as evidenced by the folks from across the community who've come out to hear these stories tonight, all of your stories, Janus's ability to provide top-notch care is of great concern to all of us here. And that ability starts with you all, the caregivers who are there, day in and day out. So I think on behalf of everyone, I want to thank you for your courage and your commitment. Am I doing the question and answer, or Nick, is that you?
Well, I know somebody over there had a question since earlier, so I think she should get a chance to ask.
All right, Justin, do you think you could run this mic? And
How are we doing on?
how are we doing on?
9. All right, maybe we can take
About two questions or so?
Thanks, Justin.
Well, she over there will do it.
I just wanted to know. Let's get you the mic so everyone can hear you well. Thank you.
Just a real quick history. My father was at the Janus in 1978, 30, how many years ago is that? Anyway, he was one of the first clients of Janus. And I have family members that have been affected by alcoholism and mental health also. And my son had some problems in the jail.
What is your name?
My name is Deborah Guadian. I'm born and raised here in Santa Cruz. I'm third generation actually, and I'm very proud of our city, but I see it going it's really going downhill, and it's not even about the city, it's the government, our society, and how we're being treated in a whole, and like you're saying, the bureaucracy. And God bless you for being there for what you do. And I do my own little personal stuff with healing myself, but when my son had a hard time getting to the Janus, he's 25 years old now, I found out Pajaro Rescue Mission will take you 2 days now if you have to have an ID, an STD, and a TB test done. What is it? ID, TB, it's like a rap song, but anyhow, they'll take you today, free. So anybody who you guys know that needs a bed, Pajaro Rescue Mission. And so that's some good information. And also, I wanted to ask you, what does the management do? What is your management? What do they do? What do they not, I mean, it sounds like they're not doing anything, but what do they get paid to do, the management?
Yes.
Delegate what we do. Delegate to us everything that we do.
So do we need to audit them? I just want to audit everything in Santa Cruz County. Like, everything needs to be audited. Anyway.
Thank you.
Sarah, you wanted to chime in?
My manager does nothing. She sits in her office with the clinical director, and they're like besties, and they sit there talking crap about everybody. And I've heard them talk about me multiple times.
Answer, what do they do? Rudy Escalante goes and plays golf
The CEO.
during business hours.
I do want to say one thing. I've had some direct supervisors who've been really supportive and really good. I do not want to throw everybody who's management under the bus here. Okay, it's the top of that pyramid that is really doing wrong by us.
And I think I was talking maybe to you, Janie, earlier about the way that the union has enables a functional relationship with management. Was I speaking with you about that, or was it you, Sadie? Anyway, I was talking to somebody.
Enlighten us. What's going on?
Well, that by having a process, by having a clearly stated expectations, clearly stated rights that the workers are aware of, creates a set of expectations that everyone can agree to and understand in terms of how management and staff is related to each other. What happens when there's discipline, right? There's order. And so part of the answer to what's happening now is that there is not order, is that management has been taking a lot of liberties in terms of discipline, in terms of scheduling people's shifts, changing people's schedules in ways that really adversely affect their ability to show up for their kids and their families when they expect to. So that's one answer to what we see could be different, right? We will be different when we win this contract about what management's doing. I think we have one last question from Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. We'll be around after we can talk.
So in the series of videos, short videos, the last one was Matt and a few other Janus workers speaking before the Board of Supervisors, and what we heard was just how conditions were bad. But I think there was a story behind why you went to the Board of Supervisors. Could you tell us that?
Yeah, it was about advocating to the Board of Supervisors of the County of Santa Cruz for funds, for some budgeting to help us, get some money going our way so management, so the CEO can disperse amongst the employees and help get those higher wages. They finally came around. At first, I think we asked for $300,000. They said maybe 150 would, and that would even be difficult. They ended up coming up with $500,000 on their own that we weren't even trying to get. The county, the Board of Supervisors, we met with John Leopold numerous times in his office, both at Live Oak and here at the county building. Each time, physically meeting with him at his office, he told me and Matt and others that he called Rudy, the CEO, and told him, hey, this is what you got to do. These are the steps you guys got to take in order to apply and ask for this funding so the county of Santa Cruz can give you the money. We can't just hand it over. You have to go through this process. Our CEO, Rudy, denied it, declined it, said he didn't want it. They didn't want to go through that. Why? We don't know why when it's being given to him. There's just a process that has to be taken. Finally, in December, after battling that for some time, one of our bargaining meetings, they said they were going to go through with that, but then they were still bringing out, it's going to take a long time, and you know how long it's going to take? It's maybe 2020. And I said, wow, that brings a smile to my face, because if we wouldn't have done anything in 2020, that wouldn't even be happening, so that's pretty good. And they were just surprised that we were smiling and happy that even in 2020 that's going to happen. So let's say that money comes through, right? All this happens 2020, January, I don't know when exactly, but say we get those $500,000 or whatnot. But they want us to sign a contract now for 1%.
Yeah.
So that means we're going to be well into late April. Well, we haven't signed yet, so let's say the end of May we were to sign that 1%. We'd be at that 1% pay rate, those 15 cents or something, up until the end of May, but they have all that money sometime in January, let's say late January, but even so, then what would happen with that money? Well, we're signing a contract for 1%. They're looking through all the loopholes of how to get around things, and we're going to get this money now that the union employees, the Janus union employees, fought for and got. All right, we'll take it now, we'll give them this contract. When that money comes, we'll use it up on other things, and hey, what happened? Well, we have to use it. We have to put it into the kitchen or the bathroom, or what's the other money they use for? Anti-smoking. Some classes for people for anti-smoking.
Which, by the way, people are smoking more now. Literally smoking more now because of the stresses that are being put on them. The other thing that we went there to do was to talk to them about the loophole for nonprofits. So, for-profit entities within the county contracts have to pay that living wage, right? There is an exemption for nonprofit entities such as Janus where they don't have to pay that living wage. And so that's the other thing we're trying to change.
When Rudy, the CEO, was not wanting to accept that money, he told us they have to hire this other person, I forgot what the title was, to take care of getting all this paperwork together to apply. Well, the money that was going to be coming in was going to be used to pay for that employee. We even let him know that, and he didn't know what else. He didn't know what else to say. Like everything was being handed, and it was just ego and pride of like, no, they're not going to get this win. It's not a win. It's let's work together. We told them, let's work together. Can I
say one thing?
Yes.
Let me check in real quick because I know we
really need to.
Nick, are you gonna 5 seconds while Nick comes up here and
I just want to say my stepson was in Janus, and it was a huge relief for our family. And I'm just heartbroken to hear the kind of oppression and abuse that you're undergoing, and I just want you to have all our support.
Thank you. So I know there's more questions in the room. Thank you all for sticking out. We'll be here and can talk more afterwards. I want to hand this over right now to Nick Wood, who's the rep at Janus.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here and hearing these stories. And just another hand to these workers who are standing up for themselves and their community. So you've heard a lot about what's happening at Janus. You've heard about the low wages, the high turnover, the terrible benefits. The entire community that is done a disservice, to put it lightly, by the conditions that go on day after day at Janus of Santa Cruz. But we are in a new time because we are coming together and we are organizing. We are organizing in the workplace. We've seen this turnover, but over 80% of these folks signed a petition, fair wages, fair benefits, a grievance procedure, to be able to have the right to defend yourself at work against all these injustices. But things can change. Things can change a lot, and we're going to give you the opportunity. You can see Mr. Rudy Escalante, who we've heard likes to golf. So everybody who's got a smartphone, we know how to text, don't we? So there is the number. I want everybody, seriously, right now. This is when we're going to get everybody to do it. Pull out your cell phone. How many times do I have to get people to clap to do this? Oh, we're going to do that too. We're going to do that too. We've got multiple ways of reaching the CEO of Janus of Santa Cruz.
Who has a union retirement package?
Who has a union retirement package in addition to his very high salary.
He was the chief of police.
Yep. So that number.
Living on his pension right now.
Yep. So all right. So I know folks want to get home. So that number 831-558-1920. Type that in, and then let him know. I support Janus workers. Period. Fair contract now.
And we will support them all the way if necessary, so he knows that there's more people besides just us co-workers that would support us. You can tell them.
It says it's a landline.
Oh.
Well, then we're
What do
going
we
to
do?
call.
She's got this on there. Oh, he is a landline.
I'm pulling out the business card. We're gonna get these texts out.
Well, put up his email if you have it.
That's what the cell. That's what his business card says. That his cell is. Well, yeah, we've got another option here. We came prepared for everything.
That is the cell phone number. Who's texting?
Did anybody get
Who's texted you from it?
responses on their texts or?
Do we need to go back to the other?
It's no.
Two
Yeah,
moving
this one is
parts.
the cell phone number.
It's not going through for me though.
It's not going through for me.
Oh, he's expecting us.
Maybe he has a block on anything that's.
There's a spy in the room.
All right, so.
Oh, there could be. You never know.
All right, so let's have everybody calling.
Can you go to the other page? Yeah, it says it's a landline.
So,
It's not a landline.
so